What's going on, guys? It's your girl, Kara Dangerous, hitting you with a special episode of Kara Dangerous Talk. I just decided to come on and talk about breaking news that happened yesterday. Sage Steele of ESPN is actually suing ESPN / Disney, and this is everywhere. And the reason that I want to talk about this is because it's interesting. She still works for ESPN, and you may be asking yourself, well, how does that work? Well, it's actually comes off a little better to sue when you are a part of the company. Because sometimes when you lead a company and you sue, it can be seen as spiteful. So you may ask yourself, how does it seem now? But you know what? It's more advantageous to sue while you're employed. We're going to get into it today because there's a lot to unpack here. And I was trying to figure out, how do I get all the information to you today? I just got to take my time. That's it. I will say that, I don't keep this a secret. I mention it a lot of times. It's something that I'm proud of, despite whatever challenges I may have had there. But, I worked for ESPN for 11 years. The years between well, I won't even tell you the years. Don't worry about that. But let's just know that I worked there. I got a chance to work with some really wonderful people, really wonderful teams, and a lot of these people who were called out in this complaint that was filed by Sage Steele's lawyer. I've been around those people. I've had conversations with those people. So I hope to bring this to you in a way where you can kind of really get a sense of things as far as the legal document and actually how people are feeling at ESPN. But you know what? Before I get deep into it, because baby, we going deep, I gotta play that intro because we gotta start that right. Where's the intro? Here it is. Here it goes. Bam. Hello, welcome back to Kara Dangerous Talk, and we're talking about Sage Steele today and her suit against ESPN Disney. Now, I just want to show you the first page of this document right here, the court document, so you can see it. There it is right here. Now, ESPN is located in Bristol, Connecticut. So when you first see the complaint, it's just letting you know that Sage is a resident. Well, she was residing in Avon, Connecticut. And if you look at paragraph 2, this is really what this whole thing is about here. It says that Connecticut law prohibits private employers from disciplining their employees for engaging in constitutional protected speech, whether that speech takes place in the workplace or outside of it. Nevertheless, when the plaintiff, Sage Steele, made certain public comments on her own time and on matter of significant public interest, and thus clearly protected under both the United States Constitution and the Constitution of the state of Connecticut. Her employers, defendants ESPN Production, illegally subjected her to substantial workplace penalties. You may be asking yourself, what are those penalties? Well, I'll tell you what they were. Sage was pulled off a lot of different hosting gigs that she was familiar with, that she had done in the past. And, to her, that was completely unfair because a number of things that is listed in this complaint. And we will get to that. But before, I want to just go ahead and let you guys know what started all of this. Sage Steele, on her own time, went on Jay Cutler's podcast. Jay Cutler, he was a quarterback. And, she really was honest about COVID-19. And she made some other statements about, of course, being biracial, and she tied Obama into it. Now, Sage has made comments about being biracial, many times, and it has always gotten her in hot water. But I think it's one of those things that she feels that she is standing up for people who are biracial, because the way she's so passionate about saying it, even though people come at her crazy after she does, I think it must be something that she feels that she is doing that is right in expressing herself. Now, I have to tell you, when we just saw that first page of the court document, and you read how under the Constitution, Sage is protected, right? But I have to tell you, anytime, at least in television, and I've been in the business for some years now, you know the company policies, okay? And my source reminded me that there is some type of line, and I don't remember because it was such a long time ago, that kind of tells you that it says verbatim that you can't tell company secrets, but it's also some other things about not speaking on certain issues and topics. But outside of that, we just read legally what is correct, but there's a sense just from the employees on the floor. It don't matter what job you have when you work in television or entertainment, that while you are employed by that employer, that you need to watch what you say when you're at work and when you're off of work. Now that everybody knows that. And if somebody tell you that they don't know that, they lying, okay? Because there was so many days I was like, man, I can't wait till I'm free to say kind of what I want to say, because that people are clocking your social media and they snitches. They want to tell, okay? I mean, I have literally unfriended many of people from work, coworkers, because of this. So that. But I gotta still explain to you what the law says. But back to her Jay Cutler podcast interview. She did it on her own time. But it was the statements that ESPN allegedly has the issue with. And I will be saying allegedly a lot because y'all ain't finna catch me out here. But check this out. Sage talking about Obama.
Real quick story. When I was on, I used to do a couple fill-ins on The View. Mm-hmm. And I guess this was even before. This is when Obama was still president. And Barbara Walters, ripped me live TV and then afterwards too, because they were wondering, they're like, why is it so important to you to say that you're biracial? I'm like, because my mom's white, she's Irish Italian, and my dad's black. And I'm like, why not? I actually feel like I have the best of both worlds. Yeah. And I think it's a huge blessing, and why not? And she's like, well, what happens when you fill out your census? I'm like, well, I don't know when the last time I filled out my census was, but if they make you choose a race, she's like, what are you going to put? I go, well, both. She's like, well, you can't. She goes, well, what about Barack Obama chose black and he's biracial? I'm like, well, congratulations to the president. That's his thing. I go, I think that's fascinating considering his black dad was nowhere to be found, but his white mom and grandma raised him. But hey, you do you. I'm going to do me. And then they put up a picture behind me of my parents and my brothers and me. And I was like, listen, I'm pretty sure my white mom was there when I was born. Yeah. And I love her. My white family loves me as much as my black family. And I got killed for that, Jay. And so I still feel strongly about being biracial, because isn't that what we want with diversity? Yeah.
Cringeworthy, right? I think the part that most cringed cringed at is when she brought in, well, Obama's dad wasn't even there. And this reminds me of, we have to go back in history because we all heard of the 1 drop rule, where they say if you got 1 drop of black, that you're black. And I have to tell you, the sense that I'm getting from people and my sources, the feel at ESPN between people of all levels, is that they are a little tired of Sage coming from this angle, because when they see her, they see a black woman, okay? And, it's not that they don't want her to be who she feels she is. But see, this race thing is very tricky, folks. This race thing is a sensitive topic, and they're disappointed in what she would say about race and how she feels about it. And maybe almost they feel like she wants to claim that white side more. That's just the feeling that I'm getting and what I'm hearing, because I did hear that when there are events going on at ESPN and certain anchors are doing things and it's the black anchors gathering, they don't invite her to these things, and she's feeling left out. Like, why not me? Why you not inviting me? But people are like, well, you ain't black, remember? You're not black. So that's an issue. Check this clip out, because I want you guys to get a sense of how people viewed Sage Steele as an anchor and as somebody who's been at ESPN for a long time. And Sage does her job wonderfully. She's a great anchor. And like I said, I've never had any issues with her, so I'm just reporting.
What you felt when you heard Sage Steele saying that?
A lot of people, myself included, before I even started working at ESPN, Sage was considered a role model in a lot of ways for a lot of young brown girls. My reaction was simply disappointed because, first of all, it implied so many things that were hurtful, and it also shows that there's just a lack of unawareness on her part.
All of her comments that she had made thus far, because it was quite the week, because actually it started with her comparing the children that had been, the children that were either infected by coronavirus or had been killed by the virus to the children in Chicago, because, that's the thing to do.
So there you go. That's Carrie and Carrie Champion and Jamel Hill speaking in the past about Sage Steele. And I played that video because I just want you guys to know she Sage is somebody I think that a lot of black people looked up to. I mean, you don't know how many times I had people say, who is that woman? She's so beautiful. Black guys ask me that. How is she to work with? Blah, 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 blah. And even for me, she's somebody who I was like, okay, it'll be cool to meet her. And so some of these people are disappointed when they find out who people really are, and if it doesn't align with that image that they have put in their mind. I want to remind everybody who's joining me right now to make sure you go ahead and hit that like button and leave me some great comments. Please join the live chat. It's always fun, and there's a part in the live chat, guys. And also subscribe to Kera Dangerous Talk if you haven't already. Now, I want to go ahead and take it back to the Jay Cutler podcast interview, because I got to hit you with the part where Sage talks about COVID, because this is another part of it which got her in hot water with ESPN to the point where they pulled her off of assignments.
What's the Band-Aid for?
Well, I got my shot today. So the fact that I get to be on Jay Cutler's Uncut podcast today, like this is such a momentous day in my life. Where you don't even know what's in here because I'm so mad. Listen,
September 13th. I mean, you took it a long way.
I did. I didn't want to do it, but I work for a company that mandates it, and I had until September 30th to get it done, or I'm out.
Were you having to get COVID shots like weekly or daily?
A test?
Yeah. If you weren't vaccinated.
Got them all. What's that?
If you weren't vaccinated, did you have to get a COVID test weekly or no, you're good?
No, because there's so few people on campus right now. There's still, we usually have about 5,000 people on ESPN's main campus in Bristol. And I don't know what the number is. It's crept up, but there's not many. And you have 6 feet distance and you have your masks. I think I respect everyone's decision. I really do. Yeah. But to mandate it is sick. And it's scary to me in many ways. But I have a job that I love, and frankly, a job that I need. But again, I love it. I just, I'm not surprised it got to this point, especially with Disney. I mean, a global company like that. But I just, it was actually emotional. Like, So, and it's funny, everybody else has their, yay, look, and here's my card, and let's, I'm like, you know what? You want to see what my face looked like when I had to do it? So I get it to an extent, but I think the mandate is what I really have an issue with. And I don't know what comes next. But I do know for me personally, I feel like defeated. Yeah, I don't know. It's one thing with masks, I don't have a problem with that. It's another thing when you force this, and it hurt. And I'm tough, but like I think she like put it in the muscles, like,
So you heard that. So she spoke about COVID. Sage did not want to get COVID, and I feel her on that. A lot of us didn't want to get the COVID-19 vaccination, not COVID, but the vaccination. So she spoke out about that when it was really controversial at the time. And so that's going to be viewed as a political statement. And ESPN is like, no. We don't do political statements. So that's where we are with that. I want to go back to the first page of the document. And I just want to explain to you that the defendants have violated Connecticut law and Steele's right to free speech based upon a faulty understanding of her comments and non-existent unenforced workplace policy that serves as nothing more than pretext. As a result, the plaintiff, being Sage, brings these claims seeking remedies for the harms caused by the defendant's conducts. And to be honest with you, I can't blame her for wanting to be compensated for being taken off of shows. Now, the whole thing that has people in an uproar is that Sage called out coworkers. And that's when the situation gets sticky, because not only if people already don't like you or feel some type of way about you, now they feel like you're dragging their name in the mud, you're bringing them up, you're snitching, and that's going to be a problem for many people. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to take you to a video so we can get a little bit more clarity of what's going on. I have a video of Jemele Hill, who went on Dan Le Batard's show to kind of speak about this. Well, I don't know if she went on there to speak about it, but Dan obviously asked her some questions about it because her name did come up in the document, and we'll talk about that further.
Asking me before if I've been subpoenaed. I have not yet been subpoenaed. I don't know if you were serious about whether or not you were subpoenaed. I can't tell for sure because this story is pretty funny. Jemele, have you been subpoenaed in the Sage Steele lawsuit against ESPN?
I have not been subpoenaed.
Are you expecting to be subpoenaed?
No, because I would definitely be a hostile witness.
So that's funny. So you see how it's funny to Jemele, and it's funny for more than one reason. Not only because she got called out in this complaint that was written up by her lawyers, it's because of this.
Hilarious, because I definitely heard some comments that she said about me behind closed doors during this time, and they don't line up with what she's saying now. I'll say that.
Yeah.
So ESPN put pressure on the V Foundation, a cancer charity co-founded by ESPN, to remove Steele, a member of the V Foundation board of directors, from her role as host of a fundraiser honoring her friend, the late Stuart Scott, on December 6th of 2021. She was also pulled from other events that she would normally host, and she was given instead the Masters, which is a golf tournament. And so, that makes you feel some kind of way when you're taken off of events. But back to her and her coworkers, it's a very sticky situation once you start bringing up coworkers. And I just want to show you this so you can know. So this is me at ESPN. Plenty of times I've walked up and down these hallways and, speaking to some of these people who were called out in this complaint. So let's get to that. So some of the people who were called out in the complaint was Dan Le Batard, okay? In 2017, Dan Laboratory slammed Steele for an IG post she made on his national ESPN radio show as well as on social media. So he slammed her on his show. Now, Dan also vocally criticized ESPN policy barring broadcasters from speaking about the Muslim ban and openly declared he would refuse to follow the policy. Levitard faced no repercussions from his ESPN counterparts and no public criticisms. So that's bothering Sage because she's like, well, why is all the attention on me? Why can't everybody else say what they want to say but I can't? Also, Nicole Briscoe, another Sports Center anchor. Now I find this what Nicole Briscoe did to be, you got to be careful doing something like this, only because you working with this person and eyes are going to be on you. But in this part of the complaint, page 7, it says that on October 2021, fellow Sports Center anchor Nicole Briscoe retweeted a post from someone who said they hoped that ESPN no longer uses Mrs. Steele to cover women's sporting events, with Miss Briscoe adding, "Amen, even if it gets me in trouble." You gotta be pretty ballsy to write that about your coworker that that you're gonna bounce into. Here's me and Nicole right here on my last day at work. Excuse my outfit. I just wanted to be comfortable that day as I had plenty more packing to do. Okay. Plenty more. And we're going to get back in Jemele Hill, so don't worry about that. Okay. So the whole Jemele Hill thing. In September 2017, Jemele was the 6 p.m. Sports Center anchor. And she had what people called a Twitter rant, calling then President Trump a white supremacist who largely surrounded himself with other white supremacists. And I know you guys remember that. It was a big story everywhere, right? So Hill was not disciplined according to this court document in any way. She merely issued a statement on social media without any apologies. So here again is another person that is being called out for not being punished or reprimanded in the same way as Sage. Is that okay to do? Is that okay to call out your coworkers? Well, she's did it. I mean, if you got to make your point, you got to make your point. Now with Ryan Clark, she called him out. Former NFL player Ryan Clark. Everybody getting it, baby. Everybody getting it. She called out Ryan Clark. Now, Ryan Clark, for some reason, wouldn't work with Sage when it came to a segment on NFL Live. He asked management if he could do the segment with another co-host. You know what? And if you get, let me tell you something about TV. If you get a feeling back that you work with every day to tell somebody to not allow them to work with you or allow you to work with them, you're going to feel some type of way, especially if you don't know that this person has an issue with you. That's just natural. She also called out former NFL player and Super Bowl winner Damien Woody. And to be honest with you, in this document, I do not see exactly what was the concern with Damien, but his name is listed. I have to find that part of the document. I believe it's right here. Let's go to this. And let's see if we can see everyone who was called out here. I know that Mina Grimes was called out. I want to say Sarah Spain too. I don't want to tell you guys the wrong thing. But what I can tell you is that Sage went to executive and producer Norby Williamson. Now, Norby Williamson is somebody that I've met several times. And, he comes off nice. He has He has a big smile on his face. But from what I've heard around the company is he's a person who makes a lot of big decisions when it comes to the shows and, affairs of the anchors. And this is Norby right here. So Sage went to talk to Norby about co-workers attacking her. Sage had previously spoken with Norby Williamson about many similar examples of employee retaliation. He told her to inform him when she was attacked by co-workers on social media because he could not keep track of everything on social media, and that if Steele alerted him to the attacks, he would remind anchors who violated ESPN policy to not criticize their fellow employees and to take down the attacks. So it sounds like a hostile work environment, because after a while you really start feeling the heat, and you can feel people vibes when you come in the room, especially when you're working on set, guys. I worked on many sets. I worked on every set at ESPN, baby. I'm telling you, from dusk to dawn. And so you get a sense of people, and it's the one thing about ESPN. I have to say, it's compared to working at other places, it's a very good place for just being able to express your personality and have fun with your coworkers and tell jokes. But then you also do your work, and you do good work. So I'm just trying to paint the picture to you that you will feel if something is off with people. People, when you working on set, you just like any job, you're not gonna always like who you working with, right? I mean, that's just a guarantee. But when it comes to being on TV, what makes an anchor good outside of them knowing the job on their own is to have chemistry with the other anchor that they're co-hosting with. That is very, very important. So, I mean, I have to tell you, when I was there, and I've been gone for at least 2 years now, I'm not going to call a name, but I did hear somebody who, would co-host with her who was agitated. And I know for a fact that they don't care for her. And, like I said, I don't have a problem with her, but I also had a different role. I wasn't on TV. I was in production. So I'm behind the scenes. So the way that I would deal with her and communicate with her would be different than somebody who's co-hosting. So what I'm getting from people, from my sources, is that Sage is coming off like a person who only cares about her story. Did she really care about, the vaccination that much? If so, why didn't she sit it out like Kyrie? I mean, you don't know why people don't take the extra step to do things. I mean, would you take the extra step and say no to the COVID-19? I mean, in fact, they ended up telling her lawyers tried to reach out to ESPN. I guess they allegedly took their time writing back. So she felt like she may be pulled off for other assignments. So she ended up also receiving the booster that she didn't want as well. Facts. For everybody who's joining me now, I want you to please go ahead and hit that like button. I'm just going through a lot of information, showing you the court document, the complaint that was filed by Sage. Here's a picture of Sage right here. Happier times. To be honest with you, I haven't always agreed with what Sage said, but I'm always thinking about a person's mental health. And when you have to go through so many things in the public eye, and also when your coworkers are you feeling like they're kind of mounding on you, that's a lot to deal with. Because then, if you, it's going to be hard when you're in this business to cut off every single piece of device that's giving you news, right? And so not only do you work in news and you got to deal with these people at work, you got to come home and try to avoid hearing about yourself on the news, which can be difficult. Here's a picture of Sage's parents. That's her father. That's her mother. Her mother's white. her father's black. Going back to the biracial comments, I have to say, back in the day in the 90s, what was it? What was the film Jungle Fever? The way they made that film and they did it at the end, when they had back then we called biracial people mixed. When you had the mixed child at the end of the movie, they almost made it a certain way. I wanted to say horror film, but I don't want nobody to take that offensively. But it got really dramatic at the end when you saw that there were mulatto children. And it's no secret if people are honest, what Black people do say is that a lot of biracial people come off like they are confused. It's a fight between your Black and your white side. Which one do I relate to more? I mean, and how many times have we heard biracial people just say, Black people, I didn't feel like I was Black enough. I didn't feel like I was white enough. So it's always this thing, this back and forth that they're feeling. Now, are we to judge whether that's right or not? I don't know. All I can say is that, sometimes I think people like this just need to be a little bit more educated. But then it's like she's her. So I guess she can feel she's whatever she wants to be, right? Isn't that the time that we're in? But the thing is, if we go back to her comments on the Jay Cutler podcast, is don't bring up another biracial person, then don't say Obama's father wasn't there and say why would he put Black, because that's the part that's gonna really mess people up with you, and they're gonna give you the side eye. Now I need to go back and give you guys something very important, which is the complaint, what it contains. Like, duh, right? Should have been gave you that. This complaint contains 6 counts. Okay, violation of Connecticut statute 31 through 51 Q by disciplining an employee for constitutionally protected speech. 2, breach of contract. 3, bad faith conduct, breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealings. 4, negligent infliction of emotional distress. 5, intentional infliction of emotional distress and declaratory relief. Whew, I got through that. So you guys can get the court document on your own, so you can go back over that. So those are the complaints that she's filing. Okay, she says her speech should be protected by the Constitution. We're going to go back over there. She's seeking damages. Okay, and this is at the last page of the document. The plaintiff seeks judgment in her favor against defendants, and each of them as follows. So we got punitive damages to general statutes, and we have punitive damages under, what does that say? Under common law for reckless conduct, attorney fees. She want her money back for all this drama. Okay. And also compensatory damages, and declaring that defendants have violated plaintiff's rights under general statutes 3151Q, such other and further relief as the court may deem just and proper. Now, one thing I really do think was out of pocket that happened to Sage, because this person has a high position in the company, right? And it's just certain ways that you have to carry yourself. So allegedly, I got to tell you something that happened here. So allegedly, Laura Gentle, who's an executive, I had her job here, but I'll have to get it for you guys in a second. She went on to explain the hundreds of attendees, including media, as well as the tens of thousands on live stream viewers, that ESPN had elected to have Steele sit this one out as a result of her comments. In other words, Gentle openly admitted that ESPN was taking disciplinary action against Steele as a direct result of her constitutionally protected exercise of freedom speech rights, adding insult to injury. This was done at an event conceived to celebrate and elevate diverse female voices and perspectives. So this is another event, I guess, that Sage would have been attending, but instead Laura, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. I actually met this lady before, but I can't remember her face. Laura Gentile. Maybe it's Gentile. She spoke about this at an event with many people watching. Like, the nerve of you. I mean, I just think that's really so unprofessional. So between an executive going to an event and talking about you, and then feeling like many other ESPN personalities have publicly criticized her, and I'm reading this from the document itself, she's feeling some type of way. Is probably not feeling the same around good old ESPN as far as Sage is concerned. But my thing is, will that be an argument to change company policies due to this complaint? Because it seems like there's an interference with freedom of speech, federally and state-wise. I'd love to see how this pans out. We really have to see how this unfolds. ESPN definitely has to respond to this complaint by either filing an answer, a responsive pleading, or a motion to dismiss. So we'll be waiting. Just to show you, here's another. Oh, for some reason it doesn't want to show. Okay, everything's froze up on this end. There we go. Just want to show you guys some more pictures. I've had many dealings there. So basically, guys, I just want to let you know we're going to have to keep our eyes on this story. Somebody else, actually, before we get out of here, that was brought up in this case was Elle Duncan. Okay. Elle Duncan is a sports and anchor. Elle Duncan is somebody who has the biggest personality. You know, when Elle's around, you're having a great time. I just want to say that. And you see me pictured with her here. Now, in this document, it says that Elle Duncan led a moment of silence in opposition to Florida's parental rights and education bill. Now, you know, this is the bill that would restrict discussions on sexuality. The thing is, other anchors were also mentioned as well. I know one of them, Carolyn Peck, and some other names. You would have to read the document. I'm not going to list them all off. But basically, they took a moment of silence. And again, we're going to go back to company policy about not making any political statements on air, on social media. And so Sage is pointing this out as, hey, how can they do it, but I can't do it? Allegedly. Look, y'all ain't about to get me caught up. Allegedly. Now, I think I had another video here, and I cannot find it. I had another video here. Oh, man, you know, I hate they feel some type of way about you, right? I know how that feels. You know, I've been through that. But if this actually comes out to be true, everything that she's alleging, I have to say, I agree with her. You can't do her that way when she's protected by the Constitution. How you going to beat the Constitution? That's why I'm saying that you have to change something about that employee handbook. Now, I know there was a section also of the court document where Sage also spoke with HR, but she felt like not much was done. So that's part of the reason she's seeking damages as well. Thank you, everybody who stuck along with me despite all my technical difficulties on this afternoon show. So right here in this, let's see this part of the document. Let's see what we can say. So there was a point here. Let's go to the top of this document. The fight, they wanted Sage to actually apologize after those earlier comments you heard about Obama and COVID-19. Because remember, again, COVID-19 was controversial. You know, how many people got jumped on for saying anything but I don't want to get this vaccination. It says right here in paragraph 28, despite feeling she had done nothing that required an apology, Steele was sent suggested apology language by ESPN PR, which she edited and under threat of losing her job was forced to issue. ESPN hypocritically followed her apology with a statement that read in part, "We embrace different points of view. Dialogue and discussion makes this place great. That said, we expect that those points of view be expressed respectfully in a manner consistent with our values and in line with our internal policies. These sentiments are wholly undermined by ESPN and Disney. Punitive response to Steele's completely respectful exercise of her constitutional protected rights of her speech." If you go down further to, let's start at 30. It says Steele was initially to return to broadcasting in October 12th, 2021, but was sidelined until October 14th, 2021. During Steele's absence from broadcasting, it was widely reported in the media that ESPN had suspended Steele for her comments on the podcast. ESPN, if you go down to paragraph 32, it says that ESPN did nothing to rebuke the widespread reports that it had suspended or otherwise disciplined Steele for her comments, both because those reports were true and because ESPN stood to benefit from the public perception that it had punished Steele for her remarks. Wow. And there's also a part of this document that says that when they called Sage to ask her about her comments on Jay Cutler's podcast, they heard the comments actually from a third party. So the person who called her didn't even hear it for themselves. And so that's what they're talking about in this document as well, that you didn't even get the milk from the milk's tit. You know what I'm saying? A third party. Guys, this is a lot. This is a lot because this is one of those things that when this suit is over, even before it's over, when you come to work, how do you, it's not gonna be good vibes. I just know how television works. She's gonna have to stay so focused on just her work. But don't get me wrong, she has friends. I just thought about that. She's not totally alone. She has friends and makeup and the people who do hair. I know people who just loves who she is and likes her as a person. Because Sage can be very sweet, but I'm just talking about this suit. So I won't tie too many of my own personal feelings in. But I think it's gonna be challenging when you know that people are feeling some type of way. Because let's be honest, the people she called out in the document, some of them have friends, across entertainment, and they definitely have friends. Like even Jamel, you know, she's pretty popular. She has people who are still at ESPN who are gonna have her back through thick and thin, thin and thick, or whatever. They're gonna have her back. Okay, so you got to deal with that. Okay, you gotta you gotta look over your shoulder. And I almost want to say allegedly. That's what you gotta do. I just know from experience that she is gonna feel the heat. She felt the heat because you see this complaint. You see this complaint. Wow. Working in television, working in entertainment, it's not for everybody. It's definitely not. But when it comes to punishment, we probably gonna have to start punishing everybody across the board. Now I have to say my sources, and I'm not sure, but people are saying that some of these people she called out in this complaint, they actually were reprimanded, but I don't know exactly what those punishments were. I was told that some of those people that were called out actually were suspended. So I like to see how this is further broken down later. And I like to hear from some of the other people who were called out. We heard from Jamel on Dan Laboratoire's show and how she feels, but I want to see if people are just going to be quiet, and they probably will, because everyone's pretty much, besides Jamel, that was named in the document, still works at ESPN. You know what though? I gotta say, I always want to say you a bad mamma jamma though, when you can sue and still work for the place. Like, I haven't been watching, so I don't know if she in the sports center. I guess she's sidelined right now, but you got to be a bad mamma jamma to do that, and know you get to walk back in there. But I guess if she get those punitive damages, it'll be easy to hold your head up and walk back into work. It'll be like winning the lottery. You know how y'all say you're gonna win the lottery and you're just gonna skip out of work? Deuces. Well, she'll get to skip right back in there and say, y'all had to pay me, but also y'all gonna have to let me get my spot back on the telly. I'm gonna keep y'all updated on this story. I mean, you see how many good cases is out right now. Celebrities are suing. Celebrities are trying to get their money. And I'm here for it to cover it, baby. It's all good. I want to thank you guys for joining me this afternoon. Make sure you go ahead and like this video, tell a friend, share it, leave a comment. That's the right thing to do. And don't be petty. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Kera Dangerous Talk YouTube channel. And also check out the Kera Dangerous Talk website, KeraDangerousTalk.com. I'll be bringing on some blogs on there very soon, so you'll get to hear from me in another way. You'll be able to get more perspective about the people I interview and how I felt leading up to the interview and what I think more about the interview and that person and everything. So make sure you check that out. Thank you, beautiful people. I'm going to see you here very soon.